I'm going to begin to inform you about two famous psychologists that I believe made some very important contributions to the field of psychology. First off, one psychologist I think made a major contribution to psychology is Erik Erikson. Erikson is known for the 8 stages of adulthood theory that he developed and then published in his book Childhood and Society in 1950. Erikson's theory explains that to move on to the next developmental stage of your life, each crisis within each stage must be resolved. Erikson's famous theory was heavily influenced by the work of Sigmund Freud. The difference between these two is that Freud suggested personalities were developed by the age 5, whereas I said before, Erikson suggested that to move on to the next part of human development, you must resolve each crisis at hand. The 8 stages of psychosocial development are trust versus mistrust, which happens between 0 and 1.5, autonomy versus doubt and shame, which happens between 1.5 and 3, initiative versus guilt, which happens between 3 and 5 years old, industry versus inferiority, which happens between 5 and 12, identity versus role confusion, which happens between 12 and 18, intimacy versus isolation, which happens between 18 and 40, generativity versus stagnation, which happens between 40 and 65, and ego integrity versus despair, which happens 65 plus years. I think that Erikson's theory made a major contribution in the way that he explains why we are the way that we are and why we feel confused with our identity, guilt, despair, or confident and accomplished within our lives. The way Erikson challenges Freud's theory of having a personality by 5 by saying a personality must develop over time, I think really significantly helped our ideas about how we develop. The second psychologist I have picked is Albert Ellis. Albert Ellis is a well-known psychologist who's recognized for introducing REBT, which stands for Rational Emotional Behavioral Therapy. The most important parts are an individual has irrational fears, which may be causing them to avoid anything connected to the fear or significant anxiety. REBT challenges the individual to face the problem directly to try and defeat the fear. While the individual is challenging their fears, they are asked to replace irrational ideas with rational ones. Irrational fears may include you feel you have little control over your abilities, you must be a high achiever, or you will feel worthless, you avoid dealing with responsibilities and life's difficulties, and you think you could still live a fulfilling life. And those are just a few irrational fears out of a large list. Ellis's work looks at the root cause of disorders like anxiety to help undo them. Out of these 2 psychologists, I prefer Albert Ellis's work and personally believe it's been more influential in the world of psychology. I say this because REBT led to the production of CBT therapy, one of the most common ways in current society to help tackle a variety of disorders. Another reason I would say Erikson focuses on life's crises but not how to treat them. Ellis found a way to directly conquer some crises and focus on helping people rather than just informing them. Albert Ellis is also recognized by others to play a very important role in psychology. According to albertellis.org, he is said to have been recognized as one of the most influential figures in psychotherapy and clinical psychology. The most important argument to include is that Ellis's work is commonly used every day in modern psychology, and to this day it continues to be an effective way of treating people. Not to say Erikson is not referenced to today, but most of his work is mostly common knowledge today. In conclusion, Ellis not only was well recognized when his theory was developed, and his methods are still relevant and highly recognized today.